listening to TMZ Movie Crashers.
Welcome back to TMZ's Movie Crashers. I'm your host, Fabian Garcia from TMZ.
I'm your host, Paige Catton from toofab.
Lots of movie news this week. We're going to get right into it by discussing what we're not going to talk about today. There's a lot of topics that we're not going to get into in depth. We're not going to talk about Guillermo del Toro's new trailer for his stop motion Pinocchio film, as interesting as that might look. We're also not going to talk about some pretty big celebrity deaths this week. Paul Sorvino, Goodfellas, David Warner, The Omen, Tron, lots of other films. Kind of some big deaths. Those are some big movie icons. So rest in peace to those guys. We're also not going to talk about Brendan Fraser's first look in Darren Aronofsky's The Whale, where he plays a 600-pound, morbidly obese man. And boy, does he certainly look it in this photo. I joke, I kid, obviously. I'm kind of joking around. But yeah, I mean, he looks, as they say, quote, unrecognizable. So that looks interesting. What else are we not going to talk about, Paige?
So you kind of mentioned this a bit last week, but the Gray Man sequel has been confirmed.
Yes.
And a spinoff is also in the works.
Yep.
So excited to see when that's coming, what the spinoff will be about. I'm hyped. I'm so stoked for that.
Me too. And just like I said last week, hopefully Netflix puts at least a few of those films, if there are in theaters. We will see. Where we are going to start is with the big motion picture. This is where we talk about our biggest movie story of the week. And nothing was perhaps bigger than Comic-Con down in San Diego. The annual convention, sure enough, went down like it usually does. Drew all sorts of fans and costumes and cosplay, et cetera, et cetera. And per usual, big superhero movie news, specifically for Marvel. Marvel and Kevin Feige and everybody else pretty much laid out the plan for Phase 5 and Phase 6. And he also confirmed that Phase 4 is, in fact, winding down. And it's winding down with, I believe, 2 more projects. She-Hulk, if I remember correctly, and then also Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, which is coming out later this year in the fall. We're going to get into the rest of the Phase 5 and Phase 6 stuff in a second. But first, let's talk about Black Panther 2. That was kind of the biggest buzz. And the trailer
ended with.
Yes, the trailer was shown, and it was also published online. And we're going to play a quick snippet from that trailer, which is probably the most action-packed moment. And we're going to talk about the ending here because it's interesting. Let's look at this clip from Disney here. So epic. So there it is, the Wakanda Forever trailer. And as you saw at the end there, a lot of the women warriors of the Wakanda tribe, I guess, whatever you want to call them, they're out there kicking ass. Yep. And somebody shows up as the actual Black Panther at the end. Of course, that's big because Chadwick Boseman has passed. They filmed this movie without him. There is a new Black Panther. The rumors are that it might be Shuri, the character Shuri, his sister, played by Letitia Wright. There's a lot of controversy with that. We're not going to get into the weeds and all that, but it does look like a woman to me. I don't know about you, Paige, but that looks like a female figure to me, and especially with the nails kind of longer. I think they're kind of accentuating the fact that this is a female Black Panther, which is exciting. What do you think? Is that Shuri there, or is that someone else?
Yeah, so that was always like the number one rumor because Shuri becomes Black Panther in the comics.
Right.
So that's what people are expecting. It's definitely a female figure. I definitely agree with that. Some people were also, because I've seen a lot of TikToks about it as well, some people are also thinking it could possibly be Nakia, but I definitely think it's going to be Shuri. And then I also saw some people saying that maybe like Nakia is pregnant with like I was gonna say Chadwick with T'Challa's baby, and then Shuri will take the mantle of Black Panther, and then after the boy or son comes with age, then maybe like that was just a prediction. Maybe then his descendant will become the Black Panther after Shuri, which I thought was interesting as well.
Well, that is actually an interesting theory. I hadn't even heard about that, but yeah, I mean, if they want to get it back to a male Black Panther, which frankly I think they do, that's kind of what the character's known for. And I think they kind of want to honor that original storyline. I think that makes sense to me. Like, let's get it back to the air. Let's do a movie, maybe a filler with Shuri in, kind of temporarily filling in. And then maybe for the third movie,
end or something.
like maybe the kid will be born or something. And then by the third movie, because you got to imagine this movie will probably do well. I'm definitely going to see it. I'm hyped just from the trailer. It looks very epic.
I'm so hyped.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, that makes sense. Actually, what you're describing, the theory that like, there's an heir. He will eventually become the Black Panther, maybe for like future installments. Okay, so if that's in fact the case, that actually kind of calms my hot take down just a little bit. The hot take I was going to come in with on the Black Panther thing was, look, from the get-go, I am very much on the side of the people who want to quote unquote recast T'Challa. There's a very viral. I am. There's a viral hashtag campaign that has been kind of bubbling up for the past several months now, maybe the past year and a half or so. It's
still trending every once in a while.
It is
all the time.
Ever since Chadwick passed, it has kind of popped up, and people said that yes, like it's obviously unfortunate that Chadwick died, and that's very tragic. And yes, he did a great job, but his story with that particular character should not end with him. They should have. People say that they should have just recast him, kept that character going, because the character is bigger than Chadwick. It means more than just Chadwick's contribution to it. You know what I mean? And even though I know Disney said we're never going to recast T'Challa because it's so intrinsically tied to Chadwick, some people say that's BS. It's like, and I don't know if Disney actually believes that or not, or if they were just doing that to like, they didn't want to ruffle feathers at the time. Because frankly, I got to be honest, in this situation, whether they would have recast him or not recast him, I feel like they were going to get backlash either way. Perhaps they would have gotten more backlash by immediate.
Never please everyone.
I know you never can. It's kind of like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I feel like if they would have recast them immediately, even though I think they should have done that in hindsight and just in big picture, big motion picture. I do think that they would have suffered a lot swifter backlash and a lot more ferocious backlash in the moment. People would have been super angry, especially on the heels of him actually dying. So maybe what they're doing here is they are going to sort of recast him, but they're going to do it in a bit of a roundabout way, with Shuri kind of filling in for a little bit, and maybe eventually some kind of an heir eventually coming along and becoming the male Black Panther once again. You know what I mean?
Someone also said like M'Baku, and I'm like, there's no way M'Baku's in that suit. Like, no. Like that is
he's too big for all that. I agree.
No.
So there's Black Panther news, and then beyond that, they also got to Phase 5. I have the titles pulled up here somewhere. Let me take a quick look.
Phase 5 and Phase 6. He basically said that it's going to be the multiverse saga, Phase 4, 5, and 6, and Kevin Feige, first of all, announced more than fans were expecting, because D23 is coming up. People that don't know, that's like Disney's like Comic-Con for like all their like IPs and stuff.
Right.
And obviously they're saving some like cast announcements, like Fantastic Four. They're probably saving for that, Thunderbolts cast, things like that. But they announced a lot more than I was expecting, and some other fans were expecting as well. Of course, the two big ones, in my opinion, were Avengers 5 and 6. 5, The Kang Dynasty, and 6, Secret Wars, which we've been talking about Secret Wars. We're wondering where is this saga leading? And we kind of know, and I'm curious to see what you hear about this, what you think about this, because I know you kept asking, who's the big bad, Pete? Who's the big bad? And now we got our big bad. Kang the Conqueror is the big bad.
Yes.
And played by Jonathan Majors. He's phenomenal in Loki. Can't wait to see him in Ant-Man Quantumania, and obviously he'll probably be in other films as well. But the big bad in Secret Wars could also possibly be Doctor Doom in there too, because that's concluding the entire saga. So, but I'm way more hyped. I'm like, I feel better knowing that there's an actual plan, and I kind of feel like they didn't like go into detail, of course, about a lot of things, but having that up there, we're like, okay,
for sure. So
there's a plan. There's a path.
100%. There's definitely a path, and like you say, Kevin Feige and company laid it all out crystal clear. And look, the thing for me is I still feel like they're kind of meandering their way there. They're not like Phase 4 still was a mess. It doesn't cohesively make sense. It still doesn't cohesively make sense to get to where he says we're going, but wherever we're going there, I guess. And maybe Phase 5, we'll see if they actually clear it up. I'm actually excited by Jonathan Majors too as King the Conqueror. Apparently he's a badass of a supervillain, like up there with like Thanos, like just murks people, whoops ass, like very difficult to take him out. And apparently it's going to take 2 more Avengers movies to kind of resolve this whole issue. So I'm curious to see where that goes. Obviously, we have many more years. What this means is that we have many more years of Marvel content. And essentially,
how do you feel about that?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, like it kind of feels like a bit of a rehash to me. Like, because I feel like what they're doing is they're just kind of sort of rehashing or sort of recycling the beats, if you will, that led up to Endgame and, you know, Infinity War and all that. I feel like they're just kind of doing the same thing again. And I don't know. I mean,
I don't know if I agree with that.
I guess we'll see what actually comes out in the movies themselves. Because if it's a lot of the same sort of, I don't know. It's got to be different. Because if I see this in a few years from now, I'm like, it's kind of the same shit as the last two Avengers movies were. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I'm not super jazzed. I'm jazzed about the casting of Jonathan Majors, who's actually going to make his first appearance in the new Ant-Man movie, which actually comes out in February.
He's in Loki. He's in Loki.
Oh, okay. So is
the
he
Loki show?
Is he Kang in the show?
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay. Well, like kind of, but like he is, but he's like not. Like they allude to it, but he's
got it.
He's Kang. Yeah, he has like many names, and he talks about that. But he's like awesome in Loki.
Okay.
At the end, and he doesn't even do much. Like he doesn't do a lot.
Yeah.
And I will say, if there's a show you're gonna watch, I feel like you would like Loki the best. Just saying that. It has Owen Wilson in it. It's like kind of it's different than the other ones. But that's one thing that's a big difference that we have here is we have all these TV shows, and we didn't have those in the past for the Infinity Saga, which could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing, because some of these shows, especially in Phase 4, like don't connect at all to the movies, and that's what they were promised to, and they didn't. So let's hope that the shows actually will connect like they're supposed to. And you know, if they don't, then that's just like, okay, you could have, you know, we didn't need that, you know. So
yeah, I guess we'll see what comes of that. Marvel laid out their plan. They gave their fans a mouthful to chew on for a while, and we have a lot of content coming our way. So we will monitor that. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next segment, the Hollywood Hoedown. This is where we talk about breakout stories of the week, breakout movie stories. And I got to say, this one I'm excited about. This is probably the juicier story of the two segments today. This is hot gossip tea. This is scalding tea. And this is great if you love drama, whether it's made up drama or not. Who knows? We're going to get into that. But essentially what we're talking about here is this alleged and rumored beef, I guess you could say, between Florence Pugh and Olivia Wilde, both of whom are part of Don't Worry, Darling. Olivia Wilde obviously being the director of that film, also starring in it, but Florence Pugh being the lead actress in it. And of course, Harry Styles, who is Olivia Wilde's real life boyfriend, is also the co-lead. So here's the deal. The second trailer for this movie came out, I believe, 5 days ago, about a little less than a week ago, right? And it was a lot more visuals were shown, et cetera, et cetera. And look, you on the surface, if you weren't paying attention to this, you probably didn't notice anything. But eagle-eyed fans, or dare I say eagle-eyed busybodies, whatever you want to call them, they noticed something. They noticed something. Essentially what's going on allegedly and rumored is that Florence Pugh is not, and this is not even rumored, this is actually fact. You just look at her socials and you can kind of see this. She is not promoting this movie. She is not promoting this movie. She seems to maybe kind of be going out of her way not to promote it. And by the way, the reason that's even more kind of propped up the fact that she's not promoting it is because she's actually promoting other movies that she's involved in that are also coming out. So she's promoting those movies that are coming out, and yet the bigger, more drama, the actual real life drama movie, which frankly can maybe get her a little Oscar buzz, and as opposed to like Puss in Boots, which is just like it's a voice acting role.
Or Oppenheimer.
Exactly, like, Oppenheimer.
Doesn't come out till next year.
Exactly, it doesn't come out for a full year, and yet Florence Pugh is promoting those movies, Oppenheimer, the Christopher Nolan movie, and also Puss in Boots. But Don't Worry, Darling, which is coming out, I believe this year. It's coming out soon.
September.
Yes, it's coming out
premiering
September.
at the Venice Film Festival.
Exactly. It is premiering. And we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, Florence Pugh is not promoting this movie. She did do a little plug back, I believe, like when the first teaser trailer came out a long while ago.
Not this year.
I don't think so. Nothing this year in 2022. She has not been promoting anything. Meanwhile, Olivia Wilde and I believe even Harry Styles, they have been promoting on their socials, trying to get a little bit buzz. And obviously Olivia's been the heaviest one, posting clips, posting behind the scenes footage. Before we get into all the details of what this is supposed to be, TikTok has kind of taken a hold of this topic and really become the authority figure, sort of. Let's listen to one of these TikTokers explain the drama. It's actually super interesting. Let's take a look at that right now.
I'm in the middle of moving, but we have to talk about the Don't Worry Darling tea. Every time something new has come out about Don't Worry Darling, Florence has posted about a different project on her stories, and today she posted the Oppenheimer movie poster thing. I caught it pretty early on, right after the Don't Worry Darling trailer dropped. And Olivia Wilde afterwards goes on and posts this, like, I loved working with you, Florence, you were fantastic post. Her team is working overtime to try and make us think there's no beef between these two.
So there you go. Apparently, as Don't Worry Darling trailers and things have been kind of coming out, apparently what Florence has been doing on social is, one, ignoring it, not posting it, not promoting it on her own social page, but two, seemingly posting, like promoting other projects that she's doing right as those Don't Worry Darling moments are popping up. And here's Olivia Wilde. This is still on her Instagram. She's got a behind the scenes shot of her looking into the monitor, and she's singing Florence's praises, saying, "Oh my God, this actress is amazing. I love working with you." And she actually tags Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh did not like that post, has not responded, and apparently Olivia has been tagging her in a few different things that Florence is ignoring completely. Total snubbing. It's insane. So look. Go ahead, Paige. What do you think about all this? Is this all just much ado about nothing, or what?
Okay, so first I want to note that because of this whole Florence posting the other films and obviously seemingly ignoring, which I'll explain my thoughts on that, seemingly ignoring that Don't Worry Darling, all these rumors about feud between them, between Olivia and Florence, this has been going on for a while. Apparently there have been reports of rumors like for months. I actually went to a bachelorette party over the weekend, and my friend was like deeply invested in this, and she broke down the soul. She's like, "You didn't know about this?" And I was like, "No." And I'm like, I work in like entertainment journalism. How do I know this? She's like, "Oh my God." And she's like breaking this whole thing down. And I was like, Jesus, is insane. But it seems like this is coming back up, especially on TikTok, because the film's approaching and Florence is not posting about the film. So honestly, like at first, when my friend first told me this, she's first explaining it to me and breaking it all down, and we can talk about some of the alleged rumors, but about things that happened, but allegedly happened. But at first I was like, okay, come on, like that's just gossip, blah blah blah.
Right.
But then when Florence is like, it's pretty clear that she's not thrilled about this. And whatever possibly happened, she's not posting on purpose. Like, she has some awesome posts. Like, I freaking love Florence. I will get back to that. Yeah. But the fact that she's not posting is clear. And the fact, it's clear as day what her thoughts are. And what's even more wild, Olivia Wilde.
Yeah, no
what's even more wild is Olivia is like, it seems like she's like kissing her ass. Like being like, "Oh my God, like I loved like freaking working with you, like da-da-da," and then Florence doesn't like it. Like, it's not like she like posted like a cast like group photo, like, "Can't wait for you guys to see this film." She literally posted directly a post directly about Florence, and Florence ignored it and posted something else. Like, that's
I mean, look,
her views are clear that there's something going on.
I do agree. I think something is in fact going on. Now, as to what is actually going on, and more importantly, why, that's where the gossip and the rumors really kick in. So I'll quickly lay out like what this is supposedly all about. Again, depending on what rumor you want to buy. Some people claiming to be part of the production of that film, because this movie was shot like a while ago, I believe. I think it might have been shot like 2 years ago or something like that, at least. But some of the rumors from people claiming to have been part of that production, whether they're PAs or crew members or whatever, what some people have come out and claimed is that supposedly one of two things. One, that either Florence might have hooked up with Harry herself on the set, and that maybe that caused some drama because Olivia was also interested in Harry and ended up actually getting with Harry in the end. I don't actually buy that theory. That sounds like bullcrap to me. What sounds potentially more plausible, but then again, I guess depending on what you want to buy here, the other theory is that Olivia was so enamored with Harry at the time. And remember, this is at the time when this is an affair, because Olivia was technically still with Jason, still technically married, hadn't actually split up at that point, at least not publicly. A lot of people are just straight up calling it an affair. People are saying that Olivia was so wrapped up in that, so enamored with Harry Styles and yada, yada, that they were all fooling around a lot of the times. And that some of the times, apparently, either Florence might have had to step in and fill in for some director duties and kind of handle the scene on her own, and or cinematographers might have stepped in and kind of handled typical directing duties that you would think Olivia should handle. That's what people are claiming too. That one sounds a little bit more believable to me. However, I have seen some pushback on that with people saying, you guys don't know how a film set works, nothing, whatever. That would never happen without a director present. But I got to be honest, maybe it did. Again, I'm not saying Florence herself or maybe she was orchestrating scenes and choreography or blocking or whatever. But yeah, I guess Florence.
Maybe she was just doing extra work.
Maybe she was. Florence is. I guess
just
she's
a little bit.
Florence is a professional. She knows film.
Yeah.
She knows how to act in scenes. I'm sure she knows how to run behind the monitor and say, "Yeah, let me roll it back again. Let me see it." And knows how maybe can make some tweaks. Or maybe somebody else in the crew filled in for Olivia temporarily in some days or something, and said, okay, Florence, we're going to film this. Olivia's preoccupied doing something else. Because Florence is, from what I've seen in the trailers, by the way, Florence has a lot of solo scenes. So it's possible that while Florence is doing these solo scenes, Harry and Olivia are off banging somewhere in a trailer or something. I could totally look. And again, this is all gossip. We don't know if it's founded at all. I should clarify that. But I'll be honest with you. This whole saga, even from the get-go and the very nature of how Olivia got with Harry, it's very much so. It's very much like whirlwind romance type stuff. And when you start getting into whirlwind romance territory, things get a little crazy sometimes. And I could totally see that happening here. So if there is any truth to that, I mean, again, who knows what exactly may have spawned this, but I think nobody can deny that Florence Pugh does seem to have an aversion to this movie right now. She doesn't want to talk about it. Doesn't seem to want to really promote it. The funny thing, you kind of touched on this, they are going to Venice, I believe this week or maybe next, to actually
next month.
Oh, is it? Okay. So they're going to going to Venice, the Venice Film Festival next month, where this movie is going to be screened, and they're all going to hit the red carpet. It's confirmed that they're all going. Olivia, Harry, Florence, all the main actors.
Yeah,
everybody. They're all going out there, and people are saying they're going to be watching that. They're going to see, they're looking for body language, because basically people are saying you cannot deny when there's an actual issue, and people are going to be sleuths on this and trying to see and read if there's actually a problem or not. So we'll see what happens to that. My quick take on this is, first of all, I can totally buy that second theory that may have actually happened. And I could totally see Florence being sour about it. And if she is in fact sour, honestly, I'm not going to knock her. She has again, assuming what has been described is in fact true, I could see Florence kind of holding a grudge against Olivia, and frankly, rightly so. And look, and this is all about professionalism, etc. Again, if these rumors and this gossip is true that Olivia was kind of abandoning some of her directing duties at certain points in the shoot, I got to say, shame on her. I already kind of had it out for her, frankly, on how I feel like she did Jason, AKA Dirty. And this adds just an extra layer of resentment against her. And I don't even know the woman, but I got to be honest, you hear these things, you start forming opinions. And again, if any of this is true, tisk on Olivia Wilde. I got to say, and good for Florence Pugh for sticking it to her. And again, there's levels to this too. She's with Zach Braff. Zach Braff's friends with Jason Sudeikis. Like, who knows how deep this actually goes? You know what I mean? But I love I love the pettiness. I love the pettiness of Florence Pugh, refusing to acknowledge Olivia Wilde, refusing to acknowledge this film. It is freaking awesome. I love the pettiness. That's all I'm going to say about that. What's your take on it?
Okay, so honestly, I kept nodding my head because you were like saying things I literally have on my notes and on my thoughts. Like, I mean, I don't want to like pit two women against each other. Like, I'm all for right. But I like Olivia Wilde as like I loved Booksmart. Like, I'm looking forward to this film, and I do like Harry Styles. However, I agree with you. I already kind of had a sour taste in my mouth with the whole Jason Sudeikis thing because I love Jason Sudeikis. So kind of how that apparently went down, already maybe kind of met towards her. Yeah. And then I'm a huge Florence Pugh stan. I think she's so talented. She is. So I love her. Like, I think she's so awesome. And even just something she was when she had like her showing and she just like shut down these freaking haters and stuff like that. Like, she's a badass. I'm sorry. Like, she's a badass. And I love that she kind of was just like, you know what? I'm still upset about this. Whatever happened. Obviously something seemed to have happened. And she's just like, I'm just not going to acknowledge you. Yes, we'll have to go to this film festival together. And we'll see what happens there. But I'm on Team Flo. If we are taking sides, I'm Team Flo
Yes.
all the way. And I feel like, but I also think that there could be more to this because I
Right.
think Florence wouldn't have, been. It has to be even more than the rumors are. Like there had to been even more stuff that happened because
I
the
agree.
fact that she's like really like specifically going out of her way to not promote this film and promote these other ones really makes it seem like there was even more to the story that we don't know about. But I definitely think that something happened for sure. And I'm, like you said, when it comes to Venice, I just double checked. It's end of August, early September. Very interested to see what it's going to be like on that carpet. If they're going to be doing press, I'm assuming they'll be doing press. Kind of just, how are they going to pair people together? Is she going to be by herself? But even just the carpet, like when they take a group photo, like is it, are they going to be there? Like, is it going to be awkward? And people are probably going to be yelling for them to take photos together. So like, oh my God, it makes me like cringe, but I'm also like excited about it.
It's one of those things. It's like a train wreck that you just have to watch as it's unfolding. And I agree. So, and I do agree that if something foul did in fact happen, it might have been actually more foul than we perhaps know or what the rumors are suggesting. Because again, Florence Pugh seems like a relatively nice person, reasonable person, professional.
Yes.
And I got to imagine if she's acting like this, it's not for no reason. You know what I mean? Something that might have happened. And again, the last thing I'll say about this before we move on, and I know this, I know you like Harry Styles. He's not my cup of tea, but this is what happens.
I'm not like a diehard fan.
This is what happens. Like him. This is what happens when you get involved with like, these young whippersnappers and these hot shots like Harry Styles who thinks he's the shit and blah, 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 blah. This is what happens. You lose sense of your professionalism. You start acting like a child. And now this happens. Anyway, I'll leave it there. We're going to move on.
Like you said, whirlwind romance.
That's what I'm saying. You can't be a teenager in your 40s. I'm sorry. Anyway, moving on to our next segment. This is What'd You See? What'd you think? We have got to talk about Nope. It came out this weekend. It was the biggest movie this weekend. It was number one at the box office, 44 million domestic debut. Not as high as Jordan Peele's last one, which was Us, which was like significantly higher at like 70 something million, I believe. But still pretty strong compared, especially in pandemic times. Very strong opening film, especially for an original screenplay, which is what this was. Something not tied to like a franchise or an existing IP.
Not a sequel.
Exactly. It's an original, and it did very well. It still has a ways to go to make its money back, but I think it will. Look, I got to be honest. I loved it. Jordan Peele is frankly a horror genius. And I'm not saying he's like up there next to John Carpenter or anything like that. He has a long way to go, in my opinion, before he starts reaching that level, but he's getting there. He's laying the groundwork to reach that level. I think he's just such an interesting filmmaker. I love his style, but more importantly, I love the themes. Like Jordan Peele, you could tell that his movies make you think. And what I kind of walked away from this movie thinking was it's a thinker of a film. It's layered, it's rich with subtext and a lot of themes, and a lot of stuff is not just spoon-fed to you and easily laid out. By the way, sorry, Logan Paul, that you didn't understand it, you didn't like it. You're an idiot. This movie was fantastic.
So hoping that you'd bring that up because
I got to point that out because I'm sorry that Jordan Peele is a little too sophisticated for you to understand, but not everything has to be spoon-fed to you. Not everything is laid out so easily. Sometimes you have to think a little bit and go a little deeper than what's on the screen. And that's exactly what this film requires. It's about, seemingly on the surface, it's about like an alien that's going around sort of abducting people / eating people. And that's really what it's about. And frankly, at its core, the reason I loved it too, it's very much so a throwback in the sense of good old fashioned monster movies, Jaws, King Kong, The Blob, World of Worlds. Like it's like a monster movie, right? Where like this impending doom leers over the entire movie. That's very much what this was. And I loved all the alien chasings and everything. But beyond that, there was more that I was talking about because it was talking about one of the themes that it touched on that I kind of perceived was, and I'm not gonna lie, I read some follow-up pieces on this, like some think pieces.
I read a lot. Yeah.
And like it kind of crystallized my thoughts on it. And one of the themes that it really hits on is the idea of spectacle, and as what we as a society and culturally as a society, that we are obsessed with the nature of spectacle these days. Everything has to be made into a spectacle. Everything has to get on camera. We're almost like living our existence through different mediums these days. We're hardly living real life existence. We're experiencing our lives in the world through phones, through screens. And you can kind of see that in the movie. Like the fact that Stephen, what's his name? the actor, Stephen Young, his character runs this little amusement park kind of thing in the middle of the desert. And he has tried to capitalize on this UFO, and he exploits the animals by trotting them out into the desert. He puts on a big show for people. He charges them good money for that. He's like, look, I'm going to show you these animals get swept up by this UFO. They get eaten. So he's trying to exploit the spectacle, which is ironic because his character, as we see in the film, was part of a terrible tragedy, which also had to do with spectacle. It has to do with his character as a former child star. It was part of a fake 90s sitcom. And throughout the film, they show you flashbacks of what happened. Essentially, it's like this monkey. It's called Gordy's Home. It's about a family that has like a pet chimp that's like part of their family, and he does like human type things. And apparently during one of the shoots in the movie, the monkey loses his mind. It starts ripping people's faces off. It starts attacking people, killing people. It's a very disturbing scene, or several scenes, I should say. It's like multiple scenes, but very disturbing. And Stephen Young's character, as a kid, he's watching the horror unfold in front of him. And yet, even as an adult, despite all that trauma, you would think that he would want nothing to do with that. I'm never going to make a spectacle of anything ever again. And yet he does. And I think that speaks to like human nature.
He capitalizes on it. He capitalizes on his trauma.
Exactly. It's so bizarre. It's not bizarre. Like it's actually fascinating that despite the childhood trauma that this character goes through, he turns around as an adult and capitalizes on it and becomes the exploiter himself again. Once again, he's the exploiter. You know what I mean? So such a fascinating concept. In fact, speaking of Gordy and this monkey, Jordan Peele, he has really rolled out a very good campaign, a marketing campaign around this movie.
Oh,
he put out again, this in the movie, he creates like a fake old 90s sitcom. And as the movie was coming out, he put out a fake intro to that fake sitcom, if that makes sense. And it looks very real. Let's actually watch a little bit of that. It's really well done.
Watching your moves, they look so radical. Hearing your words, they sound fanatical. Something inside reveals you're magical. Oh, how can I get enough? You're a strange animal. That's what I know.
So there it is. And that just goes to show you how intricate this film really is and how much work that Jordan Peele put into it. He really wanted to create this world, if you will, within the film. And he did that. And there's Stephen Young's character as a kid. Again, he witnesses this crazy like massacre that the monkey does on the set while they're filming the sitcom. And again, he grows up and turns around and does the exact same thing. He's once again exploiting animals, animal cruelty again. And then he suffers the consequences. Spoiler alert. He and his entire theme park get eaten up by the UFO. It's crazy. And then the last theme I'll touch on before I pass it off to you, Paige, because I'm talking a lot here, is the theme of Black history. Black history being usurped and stolen and forgotten by white America. And that's touched on a lot in this film. There's a little TMZ moment. I'm not going to spoil it for people. It's actually kind of interesting, but essentially, as Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya's characters are trying to document, because the whole premise is they want to capture the UFO. They want to get a footage of it. That's kind of the whole movie. They're trying to capture this UFO.
Save their ranch. They want to
save their ranch.
Make something of themselves. Yeah.
Yes. And along the way, as people start kind of hearing about a potential UFO out there, they start coming out there trying to capture it themselves. And you could see Keke Palmer desperately trying to say, no, this is for us. So it's kind of, I saw that. I was like, okay, that's her, like subliminally or not. She's trying to keep this is us. You can't take this from us. We're going to do this. So it's such a fascinating movie. So many layers. I absolutely loved it. What'd you think of it?
Well, we actually have a fun fact about that part that our
we do.
About.
Yes.
So Liam,
shout out Liam Connaughton.
Shout out Liam. I went to the movies yesterday and I posted on my Instagram story and he goes, "Oh, I have a fun fact," and he sent it to me and I was like, "Oh my god, I gotta send this to Fabian." Yeah. So basically, the name of the TMZ character, his name's Ryder Muybridge.
Yeah, and that's his actual IMDb. That's his IMDb character name.
Character name in the credits. Yeah,
right.
In the credits. So you don't know his name in the movie.
Right.
So in the beginning, talking about how they highlight how white men were taking credit for things that black men did. You know, the first the man that photographed the first image of a black man on a horse.
Yeah, the first the first motion picture is what it was.
Motion
right.
picture.
Right.
So the guy on the horse was always like nameless, but then like M and OJ, so Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya's characters, they're the descendants of the guy on the horse in the film.
Yes.
So the guy that photographed the black man many years ago in the film, he's a Muybridge as well. So the TMZ guy is a descendant of Muybridge. So it kind of shows that he was trying to credit his ancestors did.
Exactly.
From the
he was basically coming in.
Does that make sense? I was trying to work.
It does.
That up.
Basically, the ancestor of the guy who initially took credit, and from way back in the day, his great grandson or whatever came and try to do the exact same thing to Keke Palmer and Daniel on their ranch by rolling up, saying, "Where's the UFOs?" Like trying to film it. Spoiler alert, he dies too. He gets what's coming to him. I agree though. But yeah, like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. So many layers to the Jordan Peele phenomenon. Just such a brilliant mind, in my opinion. But yeah, like, I mean, what else? What was your other takeaways from it?
I should have to say that horror films are like hard for me to watch. Like I've mentioned this many times, that genre is hard for me. But like alien sci-fi, like monster scary, those are like definitely the easiest.
Yeah.
So I was scared, but I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was exactly what you said. I thought it was so thought-provoking, and I was like, just the whole way they presented the theme of spectacle, as you mentioned, was just wild. And how people, you know, are willing to die. Like the cinematographer, I forgot the actor's name with the really iconic voice. The one that he was like, I gotta get the shot. And he like gets, spoiler alert, gets sucked up. He's like, okay, here's the footage, you know?
Right.
Like people are willing to die to get this footage of this amazing spectacle.
Right.
And I have to say, the Gordy massacre was definitely the scariest part, in my opinion. But there were a lot of people, in addition to the claustrophobia moment, as people were calling it, when the amusement park guests are sucked up. That was definitely a little creepy too. But I have to say, the whole cast was amazing. Since you talked mainly about Jordan Peele, I want to talk about Keke Palmer, man. Keke Palmer was a standout in this film for me.
She was.
I already thought she was very underrated, but man, I think this is an Oscar worth. I think she deserves some Oscar buzz. I thought she was phenomenal in this film. I mean, Daniel was great too. Daniel's awesome, but she carried. I think she carried this film.
She did.
And her character had more of like, I feel like much more of an arc, kind of like, you know, she kind of wanted to get away from the family business and stuff, and then she kind of became like enthralled in this you know, trying to document the UFO monster thing. But I will say, like, I agree. I loved how thought-provoking it was. I was driving home and I'm like, what did that mean? What did that mean? And all of that. And
it stays with you a little bit. It stays with you.
Definitely. Like I mean, I watched it yesterday and I definitely haven't stopped thinking about it. I mean, I think something that someone pointed out, because I have, when it comes to overall thoughts to film, I definitely agree with you. So one other thing I wanted to mention, another fun thing that I noticed talking about hidden meetings and stuff and theories, because again, I read several pieces as well. Yeah. And something that someone pointed out, so you know, in the movie, when Daniel Kaluuya's character OJ finds out that like you won't get sucked up if you don't look up, if you don't look at it in the eyes. Right. So they were thinking about the Gordy massacre, because there are some people who are like, well, how does this really relate to the UFO? How does it relate to the alien? Like how and some people pointed out that the whole point of, obviously had to do with Jupe's character, with Steven Yeun's character. Right. But the fact that he was spared when he was a kid from the chimp spared him.
He did.
But people think because there was a tablecloth and he looked at him through the tablecloth, not right in the eye. Yes. That spared him. I saw that and I was like,
see, honestly, that no, you're right, because he was looking at Gordy through the veil of the tablecloth.
Of the tablecloth. Yes.
I did not think about that.
Yes. So people are like, that's how he probably survived. And then the whole thing about his
character. And then ironically, as an adult, there was no veil there. He was just looking straight. And he died.
And about Jupe, specifically about Steven Yeun, who also was amazing in this film.
They were
saying like, maybe as a kid, he thought he was special because he survived. And then he kind of like, he always thought he was special. And then he kind of, again, capitalized on his trauma, as we mentioned, and you know, just, you know, animal cruelty.
Capitalism, right, everything.
Yeah, totally. But obviously he wasn't special. He maybe just was lucky to like not have seen the monster or the chimp through in the eye, which I thought was fascinating. So I had to mention that.
No, for sure. That's fast. I didn't even think about that. That's such a good point.
Yeah.
So again, I think we're both kind of saying the same thing. So many layers to this movie, so well written. And I agree. Keke Palmer truly was a standout. I don't want to get into the whole Zendaya Keke debate that happened this weekend. But what I will say is, first of all, I do agree that Zendaya has certainly benefited from colorism. And I think she'd be the first person to acknowledge that. That's a shame, unfortunately. But with that said, I'm glad that Keke Palmer did come out, defend herself, defend her accolades, and basically was proud of her accomplishments. It's like, I'm the shit. I'm Keke Palmer. And I agree. She is the shit. She is Keke Palmer. She's been doing this a long time. But frankly, I'm hoping that this movie truly breaks her out into the mainstream where she belongs. She's a bona fide movie star. This movie proved it. And the movie was just great all around. I highly recommend everybody go see it. It was fantastic.
I know we're running out of time here, but last thing I want to note is I've watched so much of this press tour. I was like obsessed with this press tour. The cast is just incredible.
Yeah.
And one thing that a lot of people, another theory real quick, people were saying, and that Jordan Peele confirmed it, was that Nope also just coincidentally, and in addition to just being like someone being like, nope, when they're scared, it also means not of planet Earth.
Oh yes, yeah, that's right. It's like a little acronym kind of thing. Not a planet Earth.
Mentioned that, and there was an interview with him and Keke for IMDb, and he admitted to that. And Keke was like, "What?" Like she was like so shocked. So again, so many hidden meetings, and everyone
there's a lot of hidden meetings.
And think about it and look it up, and just really just
do a deep dive on this one because it's. Like, I agree. I want to see it again, but it's definitely worth the dive. And Jordan Peele really is carving out a lane for himself, and I'm just so impressed. So anyway, with that, we are going to leave with you guys. Thank you for tuning in with us again. Stream us. We're on Spotify, Apple, we're on iHeart, we're on YouTube, we're on the website. We'll check in with you guys next time. Again, if there's any meaningful comments, we'll go ahead and shout them out. Of substance, comment on what we're actually talking about, and we will try to shout you out. In the meantime, we'll catch you guys next time.